Hello, I am Miguel with Guitar Lessons from Spain, and today I am here with virtuoso Ricardo Gallén. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. You were born in Linares, España,
Yes.
the birthplace of Andrés Segovia. Was he an influence on your playing, or did you feel pressure to go in a different direction than Segovia?
Well, somehow I had that pressure since everyone were pushing me all the time, comparing me with him. You know, it's like, Ricardo Gallén, the new Andrés Segovia coming from Linares and so. And I always had my own path. You know, I try not to be influenced by anyone. In fact, for example, I was barely listening to guitar recordings. So my influence in this sense was almost none.
And you studied in the Spanish tradition, you studied in Córdoba, you studied in Jaén, Madrid, Granada, and then you studied with Cuban guitarist Joaquín Clerch. What was the influence of the Cuban guitar school in your playing? How different, can you tell us about how different it was, and how did it affect your playing? Can you give us examples of the Cuban guitar school?
Well, the main or the big difference that I found out is that coming from Spain, we had many good teachers, of course, but it's like the teaching here maybe is a little bit more flexible in terms of technique accuracy or perfection, and so maybe here is more focused on artistry, doing the things beautiful, you know. And this way, I don't know how to explain it. So when I came to Salzburg to study with Joaquín Clerch, he started to show me, or I started to realize how many problems in terms of technique I used to have. Like my hands were moving really a lot. I had no technique of preparation, planting, you call it. Preparing every note in order to control the tone properly, the phrasing, you know, these really technical details that I could see in the Cuban school. You can see Barreco, Joaquin, the own Lebrauer, or Marco Tamayo, for example, that they all have a really perfect technique, right hand, left hand, everything well positioned, you know, on the guitar. And this, for example, in Spain is a little bit more relaxed. So I got this knowledge of, let's say, working more conscious about small details, about technical perfection. Of course, always under the umbrella of the music, you know, as a target.
There's a lot of planting with thumb, with P, and with A, right?
Yeah, right.
Did you go back to doing like Carcassi studies? Because I know that Marco Tamayo, with one of the students that I know, like he took him and went and did the Carcassi Opus 60, and had him like, okay, now you have to plant, and then, you know, put the thumb after you play the bass, you know, plant the thumb, and then like always P and A.
Yeah,
P and A.
that's it. I always have also as well one reference point, like a resting point, like a P or A. But I remember the first exercise that I started to do with Joaquin was planting the whole hand and then working on with open strings on the first Etude by Villalobos, just playing like this. Playing and stopping every note while the rest of the fingers stay there. This is really great because with only one finger, either P or A, okay, you have the other fingers on the air, and maybe the hand maybe can shake a little bit. But I mean, when you are not used to, when you are used to with one finger, it's good enough. But in the beginning, just as a contrast to the technique of playing completely out of the strings, holding all the fingers down here is pretty complicated because it demands a lot of finger independence. So I was working for some days only on this, and then of course putting the left hand and started to play the whole thing, and then of course using this technique with whatever other piece that I played. So I didn't go exactly to Carcassi or Sor or Aguado or whatever other composer, but started with this, and then immediately my deal was, okay, what you learn, try to apply immediately to whatever other piece that you play. so I don't have to go back to early studies, or really easy studies and start like it from zero.
Excellent. You have a very unique sitting position, and it reminds me of like the flamenco players like Paco de Lucia, Vicente Amigo. Can you tell us about how you developed your sitting position and what advantages does it have for you?
Well, it came out of comfortness somehow. I mean, I started to play guitar when I was 4 as a popular musician. My father was an amateur player. He played a little bit of accordion and also keyboard and plug instruments like a mandolina or lute. So I was playing out of nothing, just chord accompaniment, and of course I didn't care about the right position or orthodox position, since I didn't have any official training till I was 10. So for 6 years I was playing any position. So I got used to try to control my hands under whatever circumstances, even lying down on bed playing. Sometimes even I fell asleep, while playing, because I was really relaxed, lying on the bed, and then I started to play, and suddenly, if I did it, I was falling asleep. So the thing is that I got used to play like this, and then it was even a little bit more hard when I started the conservatory, and my teachers wanted me to play with the guitar resting on the left leg, because also by that time I was fat, and holding this position, it was pretty uncomfortable to me for my back. And so what I was doing is practicing in my own way all the time, and then just 2 or 3 days, my teachers will listen, 2 or 3 days before the lesson, I changed the guitar to the left leg, trying to get used a little bit before going to lesson. So the thing is this is the real reason. So even if I was somehow trained on playing on the left hand, always playing to the right position was the most comfortable to me. So it's
about comfort. It's about just a very natural position.
Yeah, it's very natural. Also, of course, for some years, for more than 10 years, I'm working with physicians, with physiotherapists, and they were analyzing my position just to take care that I'm not having any issue, whatever. So
Tony Cotori.
The sister and the husband, the peer physiotherapist. Tony is my friend. He used to be my student. And he was injured for some months. He couldn't play for 6 months, something like this, while studying with me in the beginning of his studies in the master degree that I was giving him in Cáceres. And the thing is that, he came home at least just to attend the lessons, listening. And I remember him putting the arm in this kind of container for plants, for flowers, putting it with water, with ice, just to relax the muscles, because it was really painful. He couldn't really play any note. So the thing is that we were thinking about how to manage one seminar, one course or something for students in order to prevent or to avoid injuries while playing or in the process of. So I started to work with his sister and the husband, to be. At that time, they were just friends. And they were analyzing me, the way that I breathe, the way that I sit. In my ignorance at that time, I was just telling them, okay, I do this and I think it's comfortable because when you have this angle of the finger, it goes properly here, whatever. And then they were telling me the medical or the anatomy reason, because things are not working. So I learned pretty much and helped me to improve my position and my playing also. Wow. So basically the secret of my position is that I cannot sit like this, for example, because if I rest my legs like this, then I can push my sciatic nerve, and then my leg has become numb. So I cannot. I have to sit down here, really next to the edge, just supporting all the weight on the bones here in my back, in my bottom. Mm-hmm. And then I cross my legs. Of course, since I'm doing bicycling, and so I have a really strong muscles here, so I don't get tired or injured or whatever. I rest my arm here, not here. Not pressing down where the tendon is, because the muscle here is pretty small, and if you press down here, then you are compressing the fingers, the muscles. So it's a contradiction when you want to play and then you press down here, you see that the finger goes in. While doing it here, it doesn't, because this is muscle, but here is tendon. So this avoids a lot of problems. But the most important thing is that I'm not holding my back all the time straight or like this, which visually you can think of having much probabilities to be injured or something. What I'm doing is putting this bone, I don't remember the name in English, and then I hold it here. I hold the guitar with this. So I put all my weight, I rest all my weight here in the guitar. It's like, for example, when you are sitting down and then you just fall asleep on the table.
Mm-hmm.
That even if your back is curved, you are not really supporting it by yourself and putting all the muscles in tension. So I'm just relaxed like this, and of course I'm changing all the time my resting point with my toes or just with the whole foot. And of course also I'm changing my back in slow movements in order to mobilize the muscles of the back and not. I mean, the
so you're
point
not
is
stationary.
not, yeah, that's it. Because doesn't matter how perfect your position is. When you stay for a long time in only one position, this is bad. And whatever doctor is telling you this, that only one position all the time is really bad. So I'm doing really small movements, even if the general vision of my playing, of my position, seems to be really, really awful. I'm doing really small movements that is not letting me stay all the time like this, and so that's why I play really relaxed, and I don't feel really tired after playing.
You recently released Bach Complete Lute Works in 2013 and Fernando Sor Guitar Sonatas in 2014. Listening to your Bach album when it came out, well, hearing the pieces inspired me to go and buy the CD immediately.
Thank you.
And I don't usually do that because every couple of years somebody has a Bach album.
Yeah, that's it.
But I heard a BWV 999, the Prelude, and it was refreshing because your tempo was different than everybody else. Everybody tends to like plow through it. And going back to other people that, you know, it's like I've got Julian Bream, you know, his Lute Works 1 and 2, John Williams, I have Angel Romero. It's like, so-and-so has a new one out. Why should I go buy it? It's not going to be as good, or it might be just as good. What's the point? But it was just so refreshing to hear that. And how do you come up with original interpretations without it being like Javier Riba, my friend Javier Riba says, una interpretación de interpretaciones, an interpretation of interpretation. You know, how do you breathe new life into something that's just been totally beat to death?
Well, it's really complicated because you know that it's a prelude where you have nothing written about the tempo that the piece should be played. But if we attend to or we pay attention on the reading of a prelude, which is a piece made out of an improvisation, you know, just the fact of meeting one luthier, for example, one instrument maker, and then you just take an instrument and you start playing a little bit just to test the instrument. Oh, this sounds nice, whatever, and then you start playing. Sometimes you play fast, sometimes you play slow. So this is the real origin of the prelude. So the fact that it's written in 16s all the time, it doesn't mean that it has to be fast. Of course, you can play it fast. You cannot say that it's wrong to do it fast, but it is also not wrong to play it slow. I think it depends on the vision that you want to show about the piece. To me, it's something more contemplative. The harmonies are passing. I mean, if you play really fast, for example, in terms of harmony, it's pretty simple. So when you play really fast, the harmonies are passing like in a very superficial way. You cannot feel those second on the bass line, for example, or tension points, you know. And it's about rhetoric. You go up and then you go downward, and then again you go really upward, and then one diminished chord. So those are really tense points that when you play fast, you cannot really taste them. And to me, maybe because I felt it in a more spiritual way, more than a virtuosistic way, I felt like I wanted really to play slower. Like for example, when you play 988, you can play the di da di da 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 di da da, or a little bit slower. Di da di da di da di da. Me myself, when I play, sometimes I change the tempo. I don't use always the same tempo. I think it has to be also a little bit with your mood at that moment. The own Bach, for example, doing transcriptions. The few that I played the other day from the first violin sonata, in violin cannot be played that fast. But in organ, that is the number 539, can be played faster. So, and it's the same composer and the same piece, even with more notes and more rhythmical style. So he knew perfectly that depending on the instrument, you may vary the tempo, the tension, even some harmonies, So why not to do this also with the prelude? I cannot give you a certain reason that no, in terms of historical interpretation, this must be, or maybe someone can do it. But after reading many books and so, both possibilities are possible. At that time, I felt it like doing it a little bit more abstract and more emotional.
Wow. Did you prepare your edition, your transcription from Bach's original manuscripts, or did you work with other editions? Because I know that many people use Bach, the Solo Lute Works by Frank Kuntz.
Yeah, well, first what I did is to take one edition by, I don't remember, the Opera Completa per Liuto. I don't remember who did this version, to be honest. I'm really bad with names. But one edition, it was not Kunz. This I know it very well because many of my students are using this as a reference. But well, I took one, I don't remember just the name, just because it's a little bit easier to read. But then immediately when I check how the piece is going on, immediately I go to the manuscripts or the different sources that exist about the different pieces, and then I try to analyze and get to my own arrangement.
Who were you listening to when you made your Bach album? Did you listen to Arthur Grimaud play the sonatas and partitas, or did you listen to Glenn Gould? Who did you listen to?
Well, it's not only let's say one person. I have a really big background, let's say, in music. I remember when I was 7, I was already listening to the Brandenburg concertos in an old LP. So I think it was one British orchestra, but I don't remember the conductor. At that time, I was really too young to remember or even to realize who that person was. But since I was a child, I was listening classical music really a lot. Not so much guitar, to be honest. Guitar only live, but I never had guitar music. CDs or LPs or whatever, cassettes or tapes or whatever. So my background, or the best influence to me was all those recordings with orchestra or with solo violin, etc. When I got to know the existence of early music as it's known nowadays, with played with stereo instruments and so, then of course I started to listen to Tom Copman, Trevor Pinnock, or Christopher Hogwood, all those big names, Nicholas Harnoncourt, Gustav Leonhardt, Franz Purgen, all of them. So the music library is discovered. It's called like this. The CDs, the amount of CDs that I have. How do you call it in English?
Your collection?
My collection. Sometimes I think too much in Spanish, trying to translate.
No,
it's easier. My CD collection is pretty huge, pretty large, and I have a lot of influence. So when I decided to do the Bach, I was recovering many of all those recordings. I was listening to St. Matthew's Passion, B minor mass, cantatas, all the Walter Perry clavier, English suites, French suites, all that I have, Brandenburg concertos, of course, the violin concerto, the double violin concerto, etc., etc. But before the last, let's say, 3 or 4 months before starting the recording, I got, let's say, the most inspiration to me was Hopkinson Smith. I always loved his lute recording, and I was listening to it for years. And after having all this experience, of course, reading the old books, and I like Quantz, Carl Philipp Emanuel, Leopold Mozart, Mersenne, I mean, all the books that I have. I came back to Hopkinson Smith to get inspired by his rhetoric, because he's a really poet playing, and also to be inspired about the sonority and the resonance of the lute, because nevertheless I was about to record it in classical romantic guitar. It's not the same, so I wanted to try to imitate this sonority.
Nice, very nice. You play Paco Santiago Marín, his 30th anniversary guitar, right? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, this is I have several Paco Marins. This is the 40th anniversary.
Okay, so you got a 30th and a 40th.
Yeah, I have a 30, a 40, and a 50.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
you got the whole collection.
The last year I was playing the 50, but I returned to Paco just to make an adjustment in the distance, between the strings, because I felt that it's a little bit too narrow for my fingers, and sometimes I was having some precision problems on the left hand. So I told him to bring me here to Córdoba. He came to my concert, and I told him to bring me the 40th anniversary. I always, or most of the times, I leave always one guitar in his working place in Granada. So when I come to Spain, I don't have to travel with guitar, and he sends me the instrument, and I play, and I'm not worried about trying. First of all, traveling with my own instrument, that sometimes the flight companies are putting a lot of problems. So just not to be worried, I travel without guitar, and then Paco sends me the instrument here in Spain. And in this case, he came, and we switched the instruments. And this is a cedar instrument, top cedar. I don't know, the typical Indian, I think, is rosewood.
Yeah, rosewood.
Yeah, rosewood. Cedar also here in the neck. The strings are Knobloch, high tension, carbon strings. By the way, because of my nails, I cannot play really with nylon, because they are really thin. So with nylon that are thicker, I feel that the sound is not really good. I have no power enough or pressure enough to make it work properly. So with carbon, I got to know. Or maybe because I also play old instruments, and with carbon the sound is projecting much more also. So the thing is that I got used to these strings, and I think that the combination of carbon strings or Knobloch, especially with Paco Marin's guitar, is the best to me. I'm not going that it's the best of the world. I consider yes, but it's about taste, But to me, it's giving me the perfect balance between the singing, the different possibilities of color. It's a really quick instrument. This is one of the advantages of Paco Marin's guitar. I consider that they are really fast reaction.
The response of
the
the
response of this, not only in the strings, also with nylon you can feel it. But of course, nylon is a little bit more nasal and not so much projecting on the instrument. This Paco Marin's guitar. How you call it, or how you can say, become more alive, let's say, with carbon strings, because it's really how can I say, it's a little bit strange, adapting to the characteristic of the instrument. I don't know what Paco is doing, but the response of the instrument is really quick. So you can just change a little bit something here, and immediately the guitar is giving it to you. You play, and sometimes some guitars is like playing the sound needs too much time to come out. Here everything is so quick.
Wow.
So this is an advantage, but also how do you call it, disadvantage? Because if you don't have a very polished technique, then all the time you are changing the tone or adding stresses, accents, you know.
So the consistency is...
The consistency, yeah.
So you have to be a really good player to play one.
Well, I'm not saying that I'm a really good player.
No, you're
but I developed much of my technique because of this instrument also.
Yeah.
Because I really have to focus on dominate this instrument because it's like a wild animal completely. So maybe it's not as powerful as many other guitars, especially those with a double top or whatever. But anyway, the guitar is not an instrument that is filling up 2,000 people whole, you know.
Yeah,
so I don't really worry about this, but projects really a lot, and the balance between the trebles and the basses is really so clear. And even playing here, the sound is. I'm really singing, and you cannot really feel that the tone is changing a lot. It's a pretty well balanced instrument, and it's giving me the most of the things that I want from an instrument. Of course, it's not perfect, and it's not giving me the best for all the music styles. For example, I don't like to play Baroque music with this instrument, but this is a matter of aesthetic. I like the aesthetic of the old instrument sound. So more maybe nasal, more maybe shorter, but not so much sustained, more like a tack instead of a super bright instrument, you know. So it's about the aesthetic.
But it has a very round sound from what I hear right now, like you know, in person. It has a very nice, warm, round sound. And wow, how many? Since when have you been playing Paco, Santiago, and Marín guitars?
Well, I think since I started my professional, let's say, career around 1997, something like this. Before, of course, I knew about him a little bit, but to be honest, I didn't have money to buy any. And I remember through my teacher, or my last teacher, Joaquín Clerch, that he used to play, and he plays, in fact, actually, with Paco Marín. I remember that I was looking for an instrument. My instrument was made in a factory, so it was not a really proper handmade luthier, you know. And then, well, I remember that I told Joaquín, please talk to Paco and ask him to make me an instrument. I knew that it will take maybe 1 or 2 years till the instrument is ready. And then he told me, but Ricardo, you're really crazy. How can I order one instrument for you when you have no money to pay it? And I said, Joaquín, do it, because when I get the instrument ready in 1 or 2 years, I will find out the way to pay this. I will find the money in between. So the thing is that this was something like beginning of 1997, and I learned about one guitar competition here in Spain called Paco Santiago Marín Guitar Competition, and the prize was 130th anniversary. It was in August 1997. So I went for it, you know, and I remember that I was lucky. I won it, and while I was playing a little bit, just to like the prize-winning concert, you know, it wasn't just playing 5 minutes. My telephone rang because I forgot to switch it off, and then while people there in the audience, someone had my telephone and then switched it off, and then after Joaquín told me, yes, I was calling you because I wanted to collect my prize. And his prize was that I won the competition. Wow. So it was really amazing. So I got suddenly 130th anniversary and I didn't have to pay for it.
That's wonderful.
And the funny story is that 6 months later, I did the Andrés Segovia competition in La Herradura here in Granada. Sí. And I won again. So, and part of the prize was another Paco Marín 30th anniversary. So this is officially the result of this competition, the prize of that competition. He gave me the guitar 3 or 4 years later. Because I had already won, I didn't need it, so he was delaying giving me the guitar, you know.
Wow.
And I didn't ask for it, so one day he came to me and hey, it's the guitar. This is the instrument. So I think he gave it to me, I think around maybe 2000. No, I'm lying, I'm sorry. It was one cedar instrument. He gave me one cedar instrument 2 or 3 years later, but I remember that for whatever reason he did it. The length was 66, and usually, okay, my hand is really flexible, but I used to play 65, so I felt uncomfortable, and finally I changed the instrument, and then he did one new spruce guitar, and gave it to me in 2003, and this came later.
Do you prefer cedar to spruce, or the same, or what? Well,
I always prefer the spruce because of the chorus and the projection. Usually in concert, the spruce projects a little bit more. Cedar usually sounds really big here, but maybe it's not projecting so much. But Paco is doing something, I don't know, maybe it's the thickness of the top or whatever, I don't know. But even with cedar top, is projecting really, really a lot. And now maybe because of the age or my nails, because nails are changing through your life, I feel that a little bit more comfortable with cedar.
Tell us about your relationship with Knobloch. How long have you been playing Knobloch?
This is another funny story. When I started to study with Joaquín in Salzburg in 1996, he introduced me to Knobloch because this brand is from Germany. So the thing is that I was playing with those strings. Joaquín provided me them because they were difficult to find out and very expensive also. And but at that time they had a little bit of problem, is that the tuning was not really so good. So you could buy 5 sets of strings, and maybe 2 or 3 of them, the first or the third string, were out of tune all the time.
Wow.
So this, I don't know why. Maybe at that time the material was not so good, or not so much developed, the technique of making strings. I don't know. The thing is that I was playing with Knobloch for some, maybe 1 year, 2 years, something like this. And then they disappeared. They stopped producing it, or I couldn't find them anymore.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Then I got one sponsorship from Savares, and I was really happy playing for them with those strings for many years. Till I realized that someone took the brand, bought the franchise, and then started to produce again the strings, but here in Spain. We met by coincidence. I don't remember where exactly, and we were talking, and I thought, hey, I was playing with Knobloch for many years, and for my nails, as I tell you before, they were the best strings, because of they were really thin and so perfect for my nails. The things that we were talking, and we were talking about this, and then finally I decided to leave Savares and go back to Knobloch.
Wow.
I really thank Savares because they treat me really, really so good through all the years that we were working together. And the strings are really, really wonderful. But just because of my nails, Knobloch work better.
Do you do a blend of strings? Do you have like higher tension basses, lower tension basses, like the normal tension, or higher trebles? Because a lot of people do like a mix of different.
I was trying for some time this mix of tensions, but I realized maybe it's because of Paco instruments, Paco Marin's instruments that are really sensitive. I felt that the tuning was not really stable. Mm-hmm. So probably it makes sense, when you have more string, more tension in one part of the instrument, it is not pulling regular from the bridge, and maybe it can bend the top or something. I don't know. The thing is that I felt that the tuning was not really good, and even the action in my right hand when you are playing scales, for example, apoyando, I was feeling that this is a pretty loose, let's say, fluffy, and then suddenly a lot of tension, on the other way around, and it was a strange feeling to me. So finally I decided to just use the same tension.
Wow. Well, thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, and beautiful guitar, and we'll be in touch.
We'll be in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you.